Hello and welcome. My name is Chris Gibbons. I'm going to be your instructor for the next 8 weeks in HCA 224 Healthcare Economics. I believe that economics is very fundamental to a lot of the behaviors that we exhibit on a daily basis. When you look at the things that you buy, where you work, the choices that you make, what kind of car you buy, where do you live, many of these things are driven by economics. And healthcare is no different. Whether you, and it's very, especially now, what kind of care do you get? How much does it cost? Where is the availability of that care? Again, mostly driven, or a large part driven by economics and economic theory. So it's very important, I think, to have a good fundamental understanding of economics. And that's what we're going to do in this course. It's going to be a great overview of economic theory. You may have heard the terms micro or micro economics. We're going to be blending the two. One is kind of big picture and the other one is sort of small picture. We're going to be able to, again, blend the two so you have a nice overview of economic theory in general. But of course, we're going to be more looking through the lens of healthcare as we talk about this. But it's applicable to many things. So when you read about economics in the news, you'll be able to apply some of the things that you've learned in this class in healthcare economics to broader kind of national economic information as well. So again, I think this class is going to be very, very fundamental to your understanding of how and why things work. Why economics in the first place? Why do we even have it? Well, it comes down to limited resources. Whenever you have limited resources, you have to make decisions about how those resources are going to be distributed. How are they priced? Who gets what? And unfortunately, most of the things on this planet are limited resources, including healthcare. So economics can be a very valuable tool for administrators and managers and leadership, again, in healthcare to determine how best to utilize these limited resources to receive maximum utility for the population in general. So again, very important stuff when you look at it from a big picture, and of course from a small picture it means, does that individual, are they able to get the health care that they need, and is there a mechanism to provide that in a fashion that's equitable to society? So we'll be studying some of those issues as we go through the next 8 weeks. I'd like to go over some of the 10 basic things to remember, kind of keys for success in this course. And then also in a few minutes, we're going to do a syllabus walkthrough. So we're going to spend about the next 10 minutes or so going over a broad overview of this class and how to be successful in the course. The first one is get the textbook. Hopefully by now you do have the textbook. If you don't, let me know ASAP. Hopefully you've ordered it. If you haven't ordered it, please order it immediately with a quick ship. There is reading every week. It's not much, but you don't want to be behind. Let me know if there's any reason that you don't have the textbook right away, and we'll see what we can do for you. The next thing is to make sure that you read the chapters carefully. It is no mystery. I like to tell students straight, right up front, your quizzes are going to be driven primarily through the reading. Make sure you do a thorough reading. And of course, with all the quizzes that I do, they're open book. I know you have the book available to you. I want you to use the book. Now, the quizzes are going to be time limited, so you may not be able to look up every answer. Be prepared for that. But you may want to, as you're doing your careful reading, highlight key things. So if you do need to find something very quickly, maybe you have that with a little post-it or a dog ear or highlight that you can retrieve that information if you get stuck on a quiz or test or the final. So please read carefully. The other thing that you want to do is stay on top of assignment due dates. Sorry, hit the microphone there. Make sure you stay on top of assignment due dates. The syllabus, I try to do my best to make it clear when things are due. If something's not clear, let me know, and I'll be happy to clarify that for you. Last thing I want you to do is have any point reduction on something that is late, because there is a deduction of points that on assignments that are late. Now, let's talk about late assignments. I know that many of you, or all of you, have a lot on your plate. You're working a job, you have family obligations for most of you. There's a lot of things going on, and we're squeezing school into that as well. I understand that things happen. I understand that students spend all night in an emergency room with a sick child. If something should happen, please let me know. What happened? That I couldn't get this assignment turned in. I had to work a double shift at the hospital tonight, and I'm sorry. Just let me know. Communicate with me. It's when students don't communicate, then I don't know, and unfortunately that's when we kind of get in a situation where I can't really help them out. So communicate with me. Communicate with me should you feel that there's something that happened or prevented you from getting an assignment in on time. But I will say that for whatever reasons, try to work ahead. That way you don't put yourself in a bind where you have to make the paper or do the quiz on Sunday night. Because I know, like in my own life, invariably, if it's that Sunday night where I have to get something done, that's the night that the kids get sick or something happens and I'm unable to get to it. So if you can, try to work ahead. All right. Now, looking at my notes here, number 4, review your quizzes. Look, every week you're going to have a quiz. And again, no mystery here. Your final will be comprised of primarily, large majority of questions you've already seen on the quizzes. So make sure you do review your quizzes after you're done. You never know. There also can be questions that will pop up on a quiz from a previous quiz. So that's all can be fair game. But especially know that for the final, these questions have been something that the majority that you've seen before. So review your quizzes. The next one is check the course news often. I love using the course news. I use it 2, 3, 4, 5 times a week to put information in the course. It's kind of, as I see the course as kind of questions come up and the dynamic nature of the course, I use the course news to respond back to you. So please check the course news often. At least 3 times a week. Check it. Also, the course news is limited as far as how many news items fit on what I'll call the front page of the course. I think we are limited to 5 news items. After that, those items, those other course news articles they don't disappear, but they're kind of archived off the main page. So you have to scroll all the way down to the bottom, and there is a little link that says Show Previous News Items. Click on that link to make sure you've seen everything on there, because something can be pretty important. Maybe I've changed a due date, maybe I've changed an assignment, and I'll put that in the course news. So please make sure you stay on top of that. The other one, next, I'm looking at my notes here, number 6, check your student email often. As you probably know, here at Mercy College, it's going to be a great way that you're going to learn about course updates. You're going to learn about program updates and also college information. So do check your college email often. If I have to communicate to you kind of on a one-on-one basis, I'm going to do it through the email. So, if there's a question about an assignment or maybe something's missing or whatnot, please do check your college email. All right, the next thing is number 7, use the virtual office. Remember that the virtual office is for questions of a general nature about the course. Nothing kind of private or, kind of particular to maybe a grade situation or maybe a private situation that you might have. That's where you want to contact me with email. But if you have like a general question that you think that, kind of the rule of thumb is, you think that this question would benefit the rest of the class, please use the virtual office. Also, when you go to the virtual office, you might see a question, maybe it's, Chris, I can't find the link to such and such. If you see that and you're in the virtual office and you know the answer, please, by all means, feel free to answer it. I'm totally okay with students answering other students in the virtual office if you already know the answer, because you might get to it quicker than I do. I do check the virtual office every 24 hours, so you will get at least a response in that 24-hour cycle. So keep that in mind. Review the syllabus. We're going to do a walkthrough in just a minute, but please review the syllabus on your own. Make sure you have your own time management system, whatever you're doing to keep track of things. Again, review the syllabus. A lot of questions you may have are answered in there. Or if there's something unclear about the syllabus, of course, always ask me as well. But I try to make it as clear as possible. Okay, number 9. I alluded to it before, but if you are having any difficulties in this course, please contact me as soon as possible, sooner rather than later. When it's, occasionally I'll get a student who will try to, contact me in week 8, and they've been missing for a couple of weeks, and I find out, their grandmother died or something, something happened that prevented them from attending, regularly class over a couple of week period. But you're kind of contacting me in week 8. Sometimes my hands are tied as far as what we can do for you. So I do ask that any difficulties come up, please contact me sooner rather than later, and we'll see what we can do. And the last key of success in this course, of course there's many of them, but the last one is, again, go back to number 9. Contact me sooner rather than later if you have any difficulties in this course. Okay, excellent. All right, so those are some of the keys to be successful in this course, and we're going to go through the syllabus again and talk about some of the things that you'll need to do to pass the course, and to pass the course with an A. I'm sure most of you want to pass it with an A. All right, so let's go over the syllabus. The first thing that you'll find here, again, we have a course description. We've kind of gone over that, what we're doing today. Let's talk about some of the assignments. Well, let's quickly look at the course objectives. By the end of this course, we're going to achieve kind of 5 broad objectives. The first one is to understand supply and demand, and more particularly supply and demand of medical services. 2, we're going to understand health insurance, how that influences supply and demand. 3, we're going to explore the economic assumptions that apply to the healthcare market. There are some things that we believe about the market. We're going to study those. 4, we're going to understand, or have by the time you're done, that you'll understand the difference between healthcare provided by a free market and healthcare provided by one where it's primarily provided by the government. Let's say like in Canada or in many countries in Europe. You have a good understanding of that. And then also number 5 is to identify the role of government with healthcare on healthcare issues, which, as we know, is a dynamic target. As of January 1st, we already had a major change in how government is managing healthcare, especially for the facility that I work for, which is Catholic Health Partners. There's this whole edict about birth control, and of course Catholic Health Partners doesn't want anything to do with birth control, and now I just saw that the Supreme Court has put a stay on that because Catholic Health Partners didn't want to provide birth control for their employees. That's their policy that they wanted to do because of their faith and their religious beliefs. But now there's a change in that. The Supreme Court just put an injunction on that. So we'll see how that develops. But that is a moving target. So we'll discuss that moving target as we go through the course. So those are the course objectives. Online participation. You should be pretty familiar with these concepts in online participation. Again, when you are participating, just make sure that you're doing kind of full sentences. Add something to our conversation. Okay, grading criteria. What's going to be in this course? As you can see here are the breakdown of the points. We have 1,000 points in the course, so it's kind of easy for you to calculate what your grade would be. And we're just going to go over each one of these items in the next section here. So let's go over that. But I do want to draw your attention to the grading scale. If you notice at the grading scale here, a 93 to 100 is an A. So be aware of that. If you have a 92%, and you may think, oh, I'm fine, I got a 92. That's actually a B. And at Mercy College, we do not do A minuses, B pluses, etc. So it's straight letter grades. So be aware of where the breaks are on points. Okay, the assignments. The first one that we're going to have is a weekly discussion. Just be careful with this. This will be kind of the way I like to use the weekly discussions is somewhat evolving topics. So I like to keep it so we can change it as we go through. The first week will be a very kind of basic introduce yourself. I know that you probably all introduced yourself to each other at one point or another, but I don't know who you are. So we are going to do an introduce yourself discussion for the first week. But make sure that with our weekly discussions that you just kind of read what the requirements are for that week. It may change. Some weeks I may have a word count requirement. I'll let you know. It'll be clearly spelled out in the discussion forum and in that weekly assignment for that discussion. So just be careful. If it doesn't say minimum word count, then don't worry about it. There is none. But again, just kind of follow the directions for that week, and you'll be fine, and you should be able to get all the points. Also know that for our discussions, you will have to be required to do that main post by Wednesday at midnight. This allows for the follow-up posting to happen throughout the week, so we can have a dialogue, back and forth. So it does give us enough time to do that. So just kind of remember that you have something due on Wednesday by midnight, and then you'll have something due by Friday. That is your classmate responses by Friday at midnight. So keep that in mind. Weekly quiz. Going to have a quiz every week over the reading material. I talked about that before. Make sure you do read the chapters before going into the quiz. It will be time limited. Primarily, you'll have multiple choice, but you may have some essay and fill in the blank in there. So be prepared for that. Weekly learning activities. Here you'll be doing kind of workbook assignments to emphasize the concepts that you've learned throughout the week. So make sure you do those to get the points. Pretty much, there will be some of the questions that you'll have in your weekly learning activities will not necessarily have a right or wrong answer, as long as you have, in some cases, there will be some questions that are right or wrong, but some of them you will have questions where, as long as you supported what you're stating, you'll get the full points. So in general, do the weekly learning activities, put your best effort into it, and you should get all the points. Okay, so if you think about it, you have those three kind of the weekly activities that not to confuse you, have these three weekly things that you do. You have the weekly activity, learning activity. You have the weekly quiz and the weekly discussion. So that's not going to change. So you'll have 8 of those for the 8 modules that you'll do. We're also going to do a mid-course conference. I really like doing these. I hope that you don't feel they're a pain, but it's a great way for us to talk like in person over the phone. And there'll be more information as we lead up to this about how to get a hold of me. But during weeks 4 and 5, we're going to do these little mini mid-course conferences. Again, they can range maybe about 5 minutes long is what I'd plan, but they can really be as long as you like. It's a way, for us to talk about your progress in the class. If you have any questions about projects that you're doing, just to touch base on a human level. So I really like this. Again, it'll be something that you can schedule at your convenience. I'll have blocks of time available for you to call that'll be pretty wide, evenings, mornings, all kinds of things. So again, a great way for us to touch base before, right in the middle of the course, before as you're going into that second half. Because these courses go so quickly that by the time sometimes we find a student's in difficulty, it's week 7. And that's another, kind of a nice way in these mid-course conferences. If there is a difficulty, we can find it out early, maybe take some corrective actions and help you be successful in the course. So please, I hope you look at it as being a tool for your success in this course. Okay, enough about mid-course conferences. Another thing that you'll be doing, which will be pretty unique, I don't think you've had this type of project before, but you'll be doing what's called a Move Note presentation. Some of you have used VoiceThread, which this is somewhat similar, but at the college this is our second semester, actually this will be the beginning of our third semester in looking at different ways for students to present to the class, and MoveNote is one of them. And I've been the first one to use it here at the college, and this will be the third time around. And by far, it has been the best way, not perfect, but it has been the best way for students to present projects to the class. So you're thinking, oh my God, the dreaded presentation. Don't worry, it's relatively easy, but you will need some technical things to get you going through this that you may want to think about now. One is you might need a microphone. I recommend most laptops have horrible sound mics, except for Macintosh. They're pretty good. But if you have a laptop where the sound is kind of suboptimal, you may want to go out and spend $10 and buy what's called a little stick mic. Go to Walmart, Best Buy. You'll see these little PC microphones. They can make all the difference in the world in your presentation. It can make something that we can't hear you, and all of a sudden now we can. Webcam, hopefully all of you have one. If you don't, you definitely will need to get a webcam. Again, should be no more than $15. I mean, you could spend up to $100 if you wish, but you can get a decent webcam for perfect purposes for this presentation for $15, $20. And even some webcams, if you spend maybe $30 or so, you can get the whole package, a good mic and a good webcam. So do your own shopping out there. The good news is that you necessarily won't be using this once. You'll be using this as you move towards graduation and doing other presentations that you will need kind of this audio and video equipment. So it should not be hopefully a one and done for you. So especially in your capstone class where you will be required to do a MoveNote presentation. Right now we are doing MoveNote presentations in your capstone class. So again, something that you'll be buying and hopefully using in the future. All right. But don't worry, don't freak out about it. I'm going to give you some tutorials about it. I do expect there'll be some technical difficulties, and that's another reason I wanted to introduce you to MoveNote now, because I know you're going to have MoveNote in your final capstone course. I believe that's HCA 480, and I'd rather having you struggle with in your last course. I want to get used to it now. So don't worry, I'm here to hold your hand through the MoveNote presentation process. What will this presentation be on? Well, here's the great news. It is up to you on what you want the presentation on. I will ask you in week 2 to submit to me what you would like to do the topic on. It must be related to healthcare, economics. It can be kind of you can do a big picture look. You can do, how healthcare economics affects nursing. I mean, you could do something very specific. But you will be required in week 3 in week 2 or module 2 to submit the topic to me. So I'll check it out, make sure that you're on track. The only thing I ask, there's only one forbidden topic. And the forbidden topic is what you'll be writing your paper on. A small paper will be due at the end of the course. And the topic of your paper will be the economics of the Affordable Care Act. So all I ask is you can't choose that, but you can choose anything else, whether it's pharmaceuticals or anything within a broad arena of healthcare economics. If you're having trouble with the topic, let me know. That's the other reason I want you to pick the topic in week 2, because you will have a good bit of you'll have 5 chapters under your belt by week 2, and that should give you some good ideas of maybe what direction you want to take this. But look at the textbook as well for great ideas about topics for your presentation. Okay. All right, now going on to the paper. Again, don't be too worried about the paper. As long as you kind of knock it out, after you've hit the midpoint of the course, start working on your paper is what I'd recommend. It's not a big paper. It's 3 pages. The body of the paper is 3 pages. You have a cover page, and then you have a reference page. So again, shouldn't be that hard. And with this paper, I want you to address into it whether you think the Affordable Care Act will help or hurt the U.S. economy. There is no right or wrong answer. I don't have an agenda here. I frankly don't know what it's going to do to the economy. There is so much evidence, on one side, and then you have the people that say it's going to wreck the economy and destroy, future generations. I don't know. What I do know, though, is the current system doesn't work, and the current system is on track for failure, and we do need a change. But is it the Affordable Care Act? I don't know. Did we go far enough with it? Did we not go? Did we go too far? Again, no right or wrong answer here. We'll know in 10 years, I guess, will be the right or wrong answer. But please, whatever you're writing about, you'll want to support that within your paper. And we're going to be using APA style. We're not adhering, of course, to the strict APA guidelines, but make sure you do the APA style with running heads on your paper, with in-text citations, reference page, and so on. And then lastly, we will have a final examination. And like I told you before, it should be all stuff that you've seen in previous quizzes for the vast majority of that. And it will be comprehensive, so we're going to include everything. All right. And then lastly, I just want to go over this course outline. You see when things are due. I want to draw your attention to two big due dates. One is the Move Note presentation. Your Move Note presentation will be due in week 5. And then your paper, remember it's only really 3 pages of written text, will be due in week 8. The Move Note presentations in week 5 are due because we are going to be looking and viewing your presentations. The class will be watching those Move Note presentations, at least certain chunks. I'm going to assign you to groups. Not a group assignment, but there's 26 of you, so you don't have to watch 26 presentations. So I am going to carve it up into different pieces. But you will have to watch about 3 to 4 of your classmates' presentations for modules 6, 7, and 8. So you will have to view a few of those. Now, I've time limited those, so you're really only looking, the maximum a student can do is 9 minutes on that. So you might have a worst case scenario. You'd have maybe 27 minutes of videos to watch from your classmates. You will be providing a peer critique of their Move Note presentation. And that critique will be a part of that student's grade. So it will make a 10% of that student's grade. So again, it'd be kind of, for those, when you're thinking about it 2 ways. One, you're going to make sure that you do a good job with your presentation because your peers are going to look at it. They're going to evaluate it. Of course, I'm going to evaluate 90% of it, and your peers will have input for 10% of it. So make sure, again, put your best foot forward. We're all going to be kind of looking at these things. Don't worry, though. I will give you a rubric that will break down how this thing is going to be graded. So 10% will be student input from your peers, and then I'll break down each piece. So kind of, for you, it'd be very easy. You kind of basically follow a checklist to get your A. Make sure you have all those components, and then you're all set. So look for that coming at the end of Module 1. I'll have a rubric for you on the Move Note presentation. And then again, like I said before, just to mention this one more time, your kind of this mini paper on the Affordable Care Act is due in week 8. So please try to get started on these things early. So you're not, feeling a lot of pressure in weeks 7 and 8, that you kind of have things done and you can go into the final exam. Your paper's already done. Take your final exam and you're kind of all set. I anticipate the final exam will probably be about 100 questions. So it will be a big one, but not overly, not 175 question, monster exam. So it should be pretty reasonable. All right, so those are some of the key points to be successful in the course and the syllabus walkthrough. Again, this is not meant to be a totally detailed look at the entire course, but do take some time and look at the syllabus and mark these dates down in your calendar. If you have any questions about things as we go along, again, never hesitate to contact me. I'm very excited about this course, and as always, thank you for watching.